That's the whole problem, is that like he never uses the Iron Fist. Like,
and when he does, it's just like dink.
Yeah.
There it is.
Hi guys, welcome to Coog and Reviews. My name is Danielle Jacobo.
And I'm Jackson Brock.
And today we are talking about Marvel's newest Netflix series, Iron Fist. Iron Fist follows Daredevil, Jessica Jones, and Luke Cage as the fourth and final installment before The Defenders airs later this year. Iron Fist follows billionaire Danny as he returns to New York City after being presumed dead for the past 15 years. After training in Kunlun, learning martial arts, and becoming the Iron Fist, he returns in hope of rebuilding a new life in New York while also fulfilling his destiny as the Iron Fist. Upon its release, the series has not received very good critical reception, and I have to say that I don't think it's as bad as critics say it is, but it's also not that good.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it deserves the 16% it has on Rotten Tomatoes, if that's still where it is.
It's like
but,
18.
Yeah, I mean, it's moving its way up.
Yeah.
It'll get to 60 eventually, guys. No, but yeah, it doesn't, I don't feel like it deserves as much hate as it got.
Yeah, and that's how I feel. I was like, when I went into it, I tried not to let like the critical reception in my head. I was like, I'm just gonna watch it and see what I think. And I don't think it's at an 18%, but I still left disappointed. Like, it still wasn't everything that I hoped it would be. The first problem that I have with it is the character himself. Like, I did not see him as the Iron Fist, and I don't think it's Finn Jones. Like, I don't think it's his fault, and I don't think it's the job that he did. I think a lot of it comes from the writing and just like how they allowed his character to develop or like not develop. Like, he kind of just came off as this like entitled rich kid brat, and like he wasn't really like what I think we were expecting. Like, I think we were expecting to see an Iron Fist like as the Iron Fist.
Yeah. If I can put a little bit of input into that, when I started watching it, the first thing I noticed about his character is that it's very cartoonish compared to what we've seen in the other ones. Like, the other three shows are realistic, they're grounded. And this one just felt, the Iron Fist in all, just felt very cartoony, if I could say.
Yeah.
And it was his lead as this kind of cartoonish person, like you said, it a little bit to do with the writing, but there definitely was a way he played it very blandly, in a way that he almost seemed like a child the whole time. Especially when he got into problems. When he was facing a problem, it was very childish kind of thinking, and it made this kind of not as gritty feeling with the show that I think really carried over. So,
which is hard to believe, because like if he really spent 15 years training and becoming the Iron Fist, like he would be mature, like and he would know how to handle situations. And in this, you're right, he's just like a lost kid. And I think I think it is the writing, because it's like it's so like it's spoon fed to the audience, and like it doesn't make you think, and it's kind of just all there, and it's like very obvious, and it's just like it's very simple. And I think he's kind of like, compared to Daredevil and Jessica Jones and Luke Cage, like I don't think you relate to him.
Yeah.
Like he's not very sympathetic.
I mean, I can understand where like some of the writing problems come in, because if you read, the origin stories of Iron Fist, the comics, it is so out there. You're like, what's even going on? He's in the Himalayas, and then he's being like taught by all these people, and you have no clue what's going on. And I mean, that I can believe how hard that would be to translate into something a like viewer can digest, like you can understand at base level. So I could see where complications came in, but like you said, you go and train to be a monk that controls your emotions for 15 years, and then you're just always rageful, and you know.
And the Iron Fist isn't like that. Like in the cartoons or the comics, he's like very calm and very together.
He's centered. He knows what he's doing.
And you can tell they almost like wanted to do it. Like you would see that side of him for a second, and then it would go away, and he would just like go into his rage again.
Definitely.
And like he couldn't control his chi or like anything. Like it was so hard for him. Like why is it so hard?
That in the writing itself, the absence of the Iron Fist is so sad. You don't see it enough. You don't see it near enough, and it's not as cool. It's almost lame. I don't want to say that, but it's almost lame when it comes out. You're like, oh, that's all I did? Or wait, what are the odds of it hitting his hand? Just stuff like that. And I don't know, like Iron Fist is one of my favorite comic book characters, but they made it feel so underpowered in a way of what he really is.
Yeah. Okay. That's the whole problem. Is that like he never uses the Iron Fist, like.
And when he does, it's just like dink.
Yeah.
There it is.
Exactly.
I channeled it. Turned yellow and everything, but the guy only
they focus on that a lot. Like he does this. Like,
I mean, and it's a really cool visual.
It is.
Personally, when I thought, I was like, maybe they'll do something where it turns dark and he's using it to like light his way or something like that. But we didn't really get that. Another thing I wanted to add to the writing is that it's very tell but not show, especially with his background in Kung Lun. I think that's how you say it.
Yeah.
But he's always like, oh, when I was there, I did this and this and this, and you're like, well, can we see what you did, please? It's so tough.
And like, I know to become the Iron Fist, he had to defeat the dragon. I don't remember.
Yeah.
Like, I don't
That's how he gets the whole chest thing going on.
And like, they kind of touch on it a little bit, but they don't really explain it or show like anything of it except for like one scene where it's like very brief, and it's like that's what makes Iron Fist cool. Like, why are we not talking about this? Like, I can't see him meditating on this mountain like again. Like it's like we've seen it too much. Like
we understand, and it only shows a specific amount of background. Like there's only like a few scenes, and then it'll always come back to those scenes, like the plane crash. I'm sorry. But that's how it starts. Like we all know that by common knowledge. But it continuously shows that, and we don't get anything new. We don't actually ever see the place, and that's really that. As a comic book fan, that really disappointed me. That, and we didn't get a costume, which is also very disappointing.
Yeah, never. Even Daredevil had like his like a thing that he wore, and it was like kind of cool. Like he had his costume in season 1, and then he finally got like the Daredevil costume by the end.
Yeah,
and it was really awesome.
You saw a
really
progression.
Cool.
Yeah,
exactly. In Iron Fist, he's just like, for the first episodes, he's like a homeless person, and then he's just like in suits the rest of the time. So it's just like, I mean, can he find
even Luke Cage? He kind of has like
a look.
You you get the basis of his comic book character. He has like the yellow shirt on. Whatever.
He's just a normal guy.
Yeah, and they even have a throwback to like what he did look like. That's like a little Easter egg. And I mean, Jessica Jones, she doesn't really have a costume per se. She did before she really becomes Jessica Jones when she was Jewel, I believe. Or
and they even make fun of that.
Yeah, and you see the costume too. But like here, we get nothing. We get, honestly, the biggest issue it had with the writing here. To kind of close up my opinion on the writing here, is that this show is not about the Iron Fist. This is first and foremost not about the Iron Fist, it's about the Hand. This is a setup for the Defenders, I guess, because Hand's going to be their big adversary. It's all about the Hand. You get very little bit about the Iron Fist, except for he can make his hand glow and he can punch things really hard. Yeah. That's basically all you get at face value for me.
No, I agree. Like, I went back and watched the trailer after I finished the series, and seriously, like, every scene in the trailer is, like, him with his fist, and that's, like, all that's in the series. Like, if you watch the trailer and you haven't seen it, like, that's all you're going to see. Yeah. Like, those few scenes of him doing, like, 2 or 3 cool things with the Iron Fist, like, that's it. The rest of it is just, like, like, about the Hand and, like, setting it up for the Defenders. And that is why I would say, like, even if you're on the fence about watching it, just watch it if you're going to watch the Defenders.
Yeah.
Like, if you
get the knowledge.
Yeah, like, you have to almost. Like, I know
there's some important plot points here and there.
You have to push through it. Like,
the first 2 episodes will be very hard. They're very slow, and they set up stuff that doesn't really matter, but get through it.
Yeah,
kind of watch it.
Just watch it when you can. I mean, that was the best part about watching it, is like when they would subtly mention like Daredevil or Luke Cage or like something about the Defenders. That was the only time I was like, whoa.
And I mean, I do have to say, some of the best points about it, or one of the best points about it, is the returning cast. You had the Night Nurse, Rosario Dawson, and then you had Carrie Ann Moss as the lawyer from Jessica Jones. And they were probably the best actors of the show. Yeah. They brought in almost the audience's reaction to the situations of Iron Fist, where they were kind of like they were the audience looking in and going, "Really?
Yeah,
what? Yeah. That's what you're actually thinking right now."
Yeah.
So that was good. And then I'd have to say probably my favorite role, or my favorite actor, I think, to stand out for me was Ward Mitchum.
Me too.
I really enjoyed his acting. His name's Tom Filfrey. I think that's maybe how you pronounce it. But I really enjoyed him. I think he hit the note of what I wanted the Iron Fist to be the most. He had that realism. He had that sense of urgency that it seemed the rest of the script just didn't have. And I mean, he did really.
I think he was like a perfect cross, but like between like what you see in Jessica Jones, like Kilgrave, like he was the perfect combination of like what you expect a comic book character like him to be, but also kind of like fitting into the realism of like the MCU and like what they create, because they don't ever go like too comic bookish, right? Like their characters aren't that animated.
They're realistic.
Yeah, they're more realistic, and I think he like hit that mark perfectly, like between what you could expect from a character like him and like what is realistic to expect. And I think he has the best, if only like the only character, like true character development in the series.
Yeah, you can definitely see his arc.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like I was more intrigued by him than Iron Fist. Like, I was like, what is Ward doing? Like, where's Ward? Like,
I want to know what's going on with him.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
I know.
Like, get off the screen, Danny.
I completely understand. I cannot stress that enough. He did an awesome job, and that's kind of going into the next thing, which is the villains. I don't know what you thought about them, but I mean, you have Daredevil, you had
Kingpin.
Fisk, yes, Kingpin. You had Jessica Jones, you had Kilgrave. You have Luke Cage, you had Cottonmouth, you had the rest of them. And I mean, they're amazing. They are some of the best parts about the whole show. And this one, the villains are just so, I would say, lackluster in a way, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
They just really didn't cut it out for me. They're a little bit too much, almost airheady. Yeah. If that makes any sense.
No, I agree. And
they didn't feel like intimidating.
No, and it's like watching a superhero series, like movie, show, whatever, like I think if you're a fan of the genre, you know that the villain is just as important as the hero. And without a good villain, it really defeats the purpose. Like in watching, like it's really hard. It's like you want to see that conflict. But I think with Iron Fist, more than Danny Reed and more than his villains, it's like the side like stories, like storylines that you're more intrigued by, like Ward or Hogarth or Temple, or like even stuff going on with like his company and the Enterprise. Like you're more interested in like side storylines, and then when it goes back to Danny, it's like, oh, like wait.
It definitely slows down. It definitely slows down quite a bit.
It's like it has potential. I'll say that. Like it that's why I think it wasn't a complete failure, because there were some intriguing points and that like made you interested. It was like it was so close.
Yeah, and I mean, you could probably fix this. I mean, you can fix this in seasons to come or Defenders. I mean, it was a shaky start, but it's not like your doomed start. It's not your 16% on Rotten Tomatoes start. It's definitely fixable. And then I guess to kind of get off the writing, because I mean we've talked about that a good bit, but the combat is really what I wanted to talk to you about too, and that is a really big part of these newer series, these newer Netflix series. It has a lot to do with the combat, because Daredevil started it, and you had those sequences, and everyone was like, whoa, this is television, and we have these kind of fight scenes, this is amazing.
And it was Daredevil, that's the thing, it's like they translated so well to screen, like it looked like the comic book character Daredevil fighting, and like that's amazing that they can do that.
Yeah, I mean, and it had a visceral edge to it. You could feel he was getting beat up, and you could feel his pain in the battles. Jessica Jones then comes in. I mean, it's not as that was a psychological thriller. I mean, she had her powers, but she used it when it was necessary. Luke Cage, that had some pretty excellent sequences as well. It showed his brawn, and then you get to Iron Fist, and he's a martial artist who barely ever really goes into any of his martial arts.
Yeah.
It was disappointing. I mean, the combat itself was very staged too. You could see when things were coming. Yeah. I watched this with the first few episodes with my family, and that's the first thing my dad said. It was like, wait, did you see that? Like, that was obviously staged.
Yeah, that kind of goes back to what you were saying about it having like a cartoonish feel. Like, that's what it feels like. It's just like so animated and staged and predictable, and it's like it doesn't have that edge like that the other shows have, or that grittiness of like a true superhero show.
I agree with that like completely, because the moment there is a little bit of blood in this show, maybe a tad bit of gore, I'd say. But whenever that came up, I was like, "Whoa, this is so out of place!"
Yeah,
like
it was
I don't.
Random.
I was like, "This doesn't fit in the tone you've established here."
Yeah.
It felt so out of place. But in the other ones, you had that. You're like, "Oh, okay, this flows with the story." It seemed at some points they only had that in there because they're like, "Oh, we have to make sure we're like that edgy Netflix series that's a little bit."
It's like they forgot and then they remembered real quick and like put it in there.
Quickly, more blood. We have to, engross our audience.
Yeah, exactly. But it's like with Daredevil season 1, like Kingpin, like towards the middle and the end, he had so many like violent outbursts, and there were like these really kind of like gory, gritty scenes, but it was totally fine because it was like that was Kingpin, and that was like going with the series. And this one, when it happens, like the battles, the combat, it just goes from like 0 to 100 really quickly, and it just doesn't make sense.
Oh yeah, most definitely 0 to 100.
And then he's not even that good of a fighter. Like, why?
Yeah.
Why does he lose so much?
You can definitely see they wanted Finn Jones to do most of his own punches and stunts, so I guess you could see him more, and you're not like, oh, that's obviously like a stunt man, because they didn't have a mask on him or anything like Daredevil. So it's a little bit harder to do your double, your stunt double. But I mean, that really cost them in the end.
Yeah,
that's all I have to say. It was a lot less impactful. You kind of wanted it to be over before it was over.
Yeah, no, I agree.
And then I guess, I mean, we've kind of gone over everything I wanted to talk about.
Yeah.
But the other thing I really wanted to say is probably my favorite thing about this show is, if you have the time, if you have Spotify or iTunes or whichever, or go on YouTube, listen to the OST. This has one of probably my favorite original soundtrack of the 4 out right now. It's very intense, and it's almost the show I wish it could be. It's amazing. Just give it a little listen.
Yeah, no, I agree. I noticed that
disappoint.
too. Like from the beginning, like the very first episode, like when it opened, I noticed that I was like, okay, like I got into it.
And some of the original songs too. I think "Come Down" by Anderson .Paak, I want to say. I'm not sure. That was an awesome tune. Like when that came in, I got hyped up. Yeah. So they did a good job with definitely with sound.
Yeah, definitely. And like that's one of its redeeming qualities. And like we've said before, like it's not that bad. Like there are some good things about it. Like I think Finn Jones himself, I think he did a good job. I think he's a good actor. I liked him in Game of Thrones. I was really excited to see him in this, and I don't think it's his fault. So I think when the Defenders comes around, or Iron Season 2, if they do it, like I think if they make certain corrections, like he can really portray the Iron Fist.
No, I agree.
And again, like if you watch the Defenders and you watch all the other shows, don't like skip it just because like critics say it's bad. Like watch it for yourself and decide.
Yeah, be your own critic.
Yeah. Or let us be.
Yeah, I mean that's what we're here for.
Yeah. But that's all I really have to say about it. Definitely check it out. I finished it in 2 days. I got through it.
Yeah, I finished it pretty quick too. Honestly, if you like the comic books, I love Iron Fist. Give it a shot. I mean, it's the hero come to life on screen, and that's what I've been waiting for forever. Yeah. You know, I was the person standing there when they were releasing the lineup for the movies. I was like, oh please, Iron Fist, and they're like, oh no, we're gonna do Black Panther and Captain Marvel and all that. But now I have it, and I mean, I might be a little bit irritated with how it ended out, but I'm still completely fine with what it is.
Yeah, it's not lost.
Yeah,
I think
definitely.
It can be a lot better. And so, I mean, yeah, it's still exciting to see Iron Fist on screen. Like, it's cool to see him, and it's cool, like you said, like the visuals were cool with this fist, and it's fine. Like, you want more, but it's like,
we got what we got.
Yeah. It is what it is. So yeah, check it out. I think that's all I really.
Yeah, that I have said everything on my mind. Yeah, that's what I gotta say about it. What do you think, Finn Jones? Is it all good?
I don't think he's very happy.
Oh, yeah.
You know, he's not very happy. Like, he is crazy on Twitter.
Yes. The out of show reaction of Finn Jones has been a very interesting one. That's a show in itself.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah. Like, I think it's like actually like comedic, like the way he's reacted. Like, he takes it so personally, and I get it, but it's like, calm down.
Because I mean, it's such a big role for him.
Yeah. But I get that, but he like blamed Donald Trump for the show not doing well. Like when I saw that, I was like, this isn't real.
Reaching at straws. Gotta defend it with his life.
Yeah, exactly. He was, and then like when critics first reviewed it, he was like, well, it's for the fans, like it's not for the critics, and I just think that's like a cop out. Like, don't say that.
Yeah,
like,
it kind of is, but you know, I can also see where he's coming from, because I know a lot of the fan reaction to this has been a lot better than the critical reaction to it. And I mean, looking at it as a fan, I'd probably enjoy it more as looking at it as a critic, like really trying to nitpick every last thing out of it. When you look at it at face value, I mean, as a fan, it's enjoyable.
That's good. Hopefully Finn Jones is okay.
Yeah, he'll make it
Feel
through.
Better. Yeah.
When he gets the paycheck for Defenders, he'll be all right.
We'll see you in Defenders. That sounds good. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for watching. My name is Danielle Jacobo.
I'm Jackson Brock.
This is Coog Cinema Reviews. Remember to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, subscribe to us on YouTube, and tune in to see more reviews. Thank you so much. Bye.
Bye.